Hello there, Potter friends. I'm Brandy with Simply Potter, and I'm here today to talk about all of my theories and thoughts for Crimes of Grindelwald. And this is your major spoiler warning. If you have not seen the movie, please do not watch this video. Do not read the comments. They will spoil the movie for you. Avoid them at all costs. But if you need some Fantastic Beasts things to geek out on while you get excited about seeing Crimes of Grindelwald, I have some Fantastic Beasts DIYs on the channel. I will throw them up here. You can take a look. I have Newt Scamander's suitcase, the Makusa threat meter, alchemy eggs, a bunch of fun things for you to check out that are not this video if you have not seen the movie. But otherwise, before we dive deep into all of my thoughts, if you're new to the channel, welcome! Be sure to click the subscribe button and notification bell for more Harry Pottery goodness here on the Simply Potter channel. Now let's dive into this poor little brain that's been just going in circles since I saw the movie on Tuesday night because there's so much to break down. I saw the movie for the first time on Tuesday and my brain had just been reeling until I saw it a second time on Friday, and I don't know if that helped or made it worse, maybe a little bit of both. I have so many thoughts and theories that I want to share with you, and I'm sure you have some thoughts and theories too. Throw them in the comments below. I'd love to talk to you about them. If you want to have a personal conversation about them, feel free to DM me on Instagram. I am at Simply Potter Girl over there. The first thing I want to discuss with you, and perhaps the biggest cliffhanger of the entire movie, is Credence really a Dumbledore? My thought is not at all, for many reasons. You know, Grindelwald wanted one of these Obscurials as a weapon. He initially thought it was one of the orphan children that was this Obscurial, not Credence. He was using Credence as an in to figure out who this child was. So it doesn't make sense to me that he would know Credence's backstory and not be trying to lure Credence in from the beginning, but instead he's using Credence to find this kid. And he even calls Credence a squib. So if he really thought that Credence was this Obscurial and actually magic, why would he say to Credence's face that he was a squib? It makes sense to me that he would later manipulate Credence by saying that he knows who his family is and saying that that family is the Dumbledores because he's trying to use his greatest weapon, this Obscurial, with these intense magical powers, powers that can blow up the side of a mountain when enraged, against his greatest threat, which is the power of Albus Dumbledore. So if you catch the moment where Grindelwald is telling Credence that he is a Dumbledore, he uses the words, "And just as he has celebrated your torment, your brother seeks to destroy you." So that to me is saying that he has a brother who's a Dumbledore, which what Dumbledore is out to destroy him other than Albus, right? So let's break down the timeline of this just a little bit. Now, I'm not saying these dates are exact, but there are a few things that we can work out here. So we know that the first Fantastic Beasts film takes place in 1926, and Ezra Miller has stated that Credence was 18 in the first Fantastic Beasts film. And while that's not canon, we can draw a couple conclusions from that. So if Credence was 18 in 1926, that would mean he was born in 1908. And we know from J.K. Rowling's website that Dumbledore was born in 1881. So that would mean that Dumbledore was around 27 at the time that Credence was born, which really doesn't make a lot of sense. That's not really a brother age, it's a pretty big age gap. It would be more like a father age, which I don't think at all that Credence is Dumbledore's son. That would just be really wild. And if you're not quite thoroughly convinced about Credence's age based on the fact that just Ezra Miller made a comment in an interview that Credence is 18, there's this huge theory that the ship that sunk, that Credence was on board of, was actually the Titanic, which would have been in 1912. So Credence was a baby then, so he would have been born in at least like 1909, 1910, which still puts Dumbledore at like 24, 25, 26. So I think it's pretty feasible to say that it's a stretch for Credence to be Dumbledore's brother. And it's already been worked out that Albus's father was in prison around the time that Credence would have been born, so there's no way feasibly that he could be the father of Credence either. So who the hell is Credence? Like, is he really a Dumbledore? What throws me and kind of makes me want to believe that he's a Dumbledore is the Phoenix end scene with Grindelwald, where he throws the chick into the air and it just bursts into flames and turns into the Phoenix. But is it possible that Grindelwald manipulated that chick into becoming a Phoenix? Maybe it never was. Maybe it was a Raven chick. We do know that the mascot for the Lestrange family is a raven, so maybe Grindelwald did some spooky magic to turn this raven into a Phoenix. And this leads me to my second point, which is, what even was the point of introducing the Lestranges? Like, they obviously are going to have some role within the films, but that role isn't quite clear yet, and my theory is that Credence is a Lestrange because there's really no other purpose that I can see right now for introducing this whole other family into this movie and this world. And this would make a lot of sense when Grindelwald said, "Your brother seeks to destroy you," because we know Yusuf, who is this person who's worked himself into the Lestrange family, that he is out to destroy Credence because he believes that Credence is Corvus. So it would make sense that they'd be brothers based on that statement that Grindelwald made. And speaking of Yusuf, we know that he's made an unbreakable vow, and to me it really makes no sense that Corvus wouldn't still be alive, because with an unbreakable vow, you die if you can't hold up the ends of the vow. And he made a vow to kill this brother with his father. And if the brother was dead, wouldn't he not be able to hold up his end of the unbreakable vow, and therefore he would be dead if Corvus was dead? Yeah, I'm not quite clear on how unbreakable vows work exactly, but that's kind of my theory right now, is that Yusuf and Credence are actually brothers, and Credence does fit into this family tree. Like, it just makes sense. Is it possible that Lita didn't switch, or maybe the babies got switched back and she didn't know? It's really, really hard to say, but for sure I think the switch happened, because we see the Boggart scene from Hogwarts and she sees that, so it obviously affects her a lot, and I can't imagine a false memory like causing that big of an effect. So something's going on here. If you have a theory about it, let me know. That's what I've kind of come up with all of my studies, and I'm curious to know what you guys think, because this is the thing that seriously baffles me the most. What else is the point of Lita Lestrange other than to introduce this baby swap? What else is the point of Lita? The next big shock in what everyone's talking about from the movie revolves around Queenie and her betrayal of all of her friends to go to the side of Grindelwald. And I have a pretty solid theory, I think, about this one. So we know Queenie is just a little bit crazy in this movie, right? She put Jacob under a love spell to try to coerce him into marrying her in London, because he won't do it because he's afraid of her getting arrested, and she just gets mad and like apparates away and kind of acts a fool. But I don't think it's in Queenie's nature to just willingly go to the bad side. So you can see when Grindelwald comes in and they meet each other face to face for the first time, she is like visibly shook and takes out her wand and is seriously freaking out and scared. And I do not believe that Queenie on her own will joined Grindelwald's side, and here's why. So in that same scene, just a few moments before, we see Queenie sitting down drinking tea with Rosier, who is Grindelwald's female sidekick, and she has an empty teacup to begin with, which implies that she drank tea, and this is also noted in the Crimes of Grindelwald screenplay that she has an empty teacup. And the teapot is very, very, very pushy about continuing to fill Queenie's cup. And so to me, that makes me think that there's something in that tea that is making Queenie act against her will and putting her under some kind of spell. And I think this theory might hold some truth because when Grindelwald's having his rally and Queenie's getting ready to walk through Grindelwald's flames and join his side, Jacob makes the comment that Queenie needs to wake up. So it kind of maybe alludes to the fact that she might be under some kind of spell. And in the very end scene, when Grindelwald is with Queenie, you can tell she's just not happy and she's not herself. And this might be from a conscious regret of joining Grindelwald, but I think it's because she's being held hostage and against her will. And she can't escape, and she's there to be used as a weapon against everyone else, because now Grindelwald can use her to read the minds of other people around him. Alright, the blood pact. So when was this made and how does this work? We know that Dumbledore fights Grindelwald with Aberforth when he comes looking for Ariana to bring to his side and use her as a weapon. And if Dumbledore had made this blood pact with Grindelwald when they were children or adolescents, it doesn't make sense that he could fight Grindelwald when he came looking for Ariana without any consequences. So to me, that would say that they made this pact after the fight, and that doesn't really make any sense either. So there are some loose ends here that I can't add up. Would love to hear your theory on this, and if you guys have any ideas on how a blood pact might work, I'd be really curious to hear about them too, because we don't know exactly at this point how they operate. We just know that there's maybe a plot hole here that we just can't reconcile yet. Maybe there's more to this blood pact than we are actually seeing at face value, because Newt asked Dumbledore about the blood pact and said, is this the reason that you can't fight Dumbledore? So maybe the blood pact wasn't made to say strictly that you can't fight him, since we know that he does fight him with Aberforth. Maybe it was made for some other reason. We don't know this right now, and I'm really curious to find out about it. This one isn't a theory as much as it is a personal opinion, but I believe there are way too many callbacks to Harry Potter in the movies for legitimately either no reason, or they are riddled with presumable inaccuracies. So the major one that everyone keeps talking about right now is McGonagall being back at Hogwarts, and people keep trying to justify this maybe not being Minerva McGonagall, but I think with the mannerisms, the voice inflections, the way that she carries herself, it was definitely meant to be Minerva. And as it is being discussed right now, Minerva was not born until the late 20s, early to mid 30s. We don't know an exact date, but we can kind of like work our way backwards from the date in Order of the Phoenix. She said that she'd been working at Hogwarts for so long, so you can trace it back and then figure out when she graduated and then her age, and yeah, we can presume it's sometime between then, and it makes no sense that Minerva would be at Hogwarts when she hadn't even been born yet. And speaking of Hogwarts, Dumbledore is there working as a Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, we can presume, because he's teaching the class about boggarts. But we know that Dumbledore was in fact a Transfiguration teacher. Maybe he ends up being a Transfiguration teacher later, I don't know. It's just kind of mind-baffling for us. And I really liked the parts with Flamel. I thought they were really cool, but again, like, I try to make sense of movies like in all possible ways that I can, and it's the Ravenclaw in me. And what point did Nicholas Flamel really serve other than the callback to Harry Potter and to give us all the feels, because he does help in the end scene. Was it really necessary? I think there might be something going on with that book that he opens. Maybe it plays into this like prophecy that's kind of been teased throughout this movie. I don't know, but as it stands now, was there really a point? And this also holds true for me for Nagini. Nagini could have been left out of the movie entirely, and it would have made zero difference to the movie as a whole. Nagini's whole point in the movie was to be a support for Credence. That was it. We don't know anything about where she's going up until the point that she's with Voldemort. Obviously those things are going to be explored in the future films, but her introduction, for me at least, seemed like a little bit premature and kind of disappointing too, because we have these really cool moments with Flamel and with Nagini that would have been awesome to be revealed in the movie, but they were revealed in the trailer. So I think their impact wasn't as strong as they could have been, and honestly for me it was just a teensy bit of a letdown that we saw them so early. Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you liked it, be sure to give it a big ol' thumbs up below and comment below any theories that you have. I'd love to discuss them with you. My mind is still reeling and is still super boggled. And if you want to have a conversation with me, again, you can find me on Instagram at simplypottergirl. Until next week, stay magical, my friends.